Our goal is to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion.
That's a lot of money.
So from a nominal deficit of $2 trillion to try to cut the deficit in half to $1 trillion, or looked at it in total federal spending to drop the federal spending from $7 trillion to $6 trillion. We want to reduce the spending by eliminating waste and fraud, reduce the spending by 15%, which seems really quite achievable. The government is not efficient, and there's a lot of waste and fraud. So we feel confident that a 15% reduction can be done without affecting any of the critical government services.
I'm going to talk to all the guys.
If not making it better.
That's probably true. I mean, I'm going to be honest. Like, I feel like this is probably true with almost any company, especially nowadays with technology, that you probably could cut 15% of the spending from a lot of companies and probably still make the same product. I mean, look what they did with Twitter, right? They cut it by 80% and they still made the same product. And I think it's better now.
Guys, hear about the specifics, but for you, what's the most astonishing thing you've found out in this process?
The sheer amount of waste and fraud in the government. It is astonishing. It's mind-blowing. We routinely encounter wastes of $1 billion or more, casually.
Oops.
For example, like the simple survey that was literally a 10-question survey that you could do with SurveyMonkey, cost you about $10,000, was the government was being charged almost $1 billion for that.
For doing a survey?
$1 billion for a simple online survey, do you like the national park? And then there appeared to be no feedback loop for what would be done with that survey. So the survey would just go into nothing. It was like insane.
You technically are a special government employee. And
everybody says he's lying. It's not true. Guys, do you really think that they're not retarded? Of course they are. Of course, absolutely. It goes without saying.
You're supposed to be 130 days. Are you going to continue past that, or do you think that's what you're going to do? Or?
Well, I think we will have accomplished most of the work required to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion within that time frame.
So in that time frame, 130 days. And the process is a report at some point, at 100 days? Or?
Not really a report. We are cutting the waste and fraud in real time. So every day that passes, our goal is to reduce the waste and fraud by $4 billion a day, every day, 7 days a week.
Wow.
And so far, we are succeeding.
And I'm going to talk to the specifics, but there obviously are Doge critics who are reading all kinds of stuff. Obviously, lawmakers on the other side of the aisle are attacking you, and they characterize the approach as this: fire, ready, and then aim. And how do you approach that? How do you respond?
People always make arguments for, like a system, and like this system needs to be done. The reason why is that the system is created to protect them. They've created an apparatus that basically allows them to never have to make any changes and never be held accountable by anything, because they've created so many different levels of red tape and overlapping government apparatuses that it's almost impossible to dissect all of it. That's what happens. And you see this, like, how many of you guys have been in a company where there's been like some sort of obfuscation mechanic where there's no way for you to really figure out who's at blame, and the product suffers in the long term because of that? No, I think that's what's happening in the government too, because that's what happens everywhere else. The hogs are mad the trough is getting smaller. Yeah, I think so. Every company I work at, yeah. Accountability becomes adjudicated to an abstract department. Exactly, yeah. And people, like, one thing that people are terrified of is direct personal accountability. And also, the main thing that highly skilled, highly motivated people want is direct personal accountability.
To that.
Well, I do agree that we actually want to be careful in the cuts. So we want to measure twice, if not thrice, and cut once. Actually, that is our approach. They may characterize it as shooting from the hip, but it is anything but that. Which is not
mistakes happen, right?
We don't make mistakes. If we would approach this with the standard of making no mistakes at all, that would be like saying someone in baseball's got to bat 1,000. That's impossible. So when we do
I mean, of course. There's people that go to jail all the time because for crimes they didn't commit. All the time this happens. That doesn't mean that we just don't put anybody in jail. Like, every rule and every law is going to have bad outcomes. That's just how it is.
Mistakes, we correct them quickly, and we move
That doesn't
on.
mean you can't do it.
Some people say this shouldn't take a rocket scientist. Steve Davis, you are a rocket scientist. You used to be. Yeah, and now essentially you're the chief operating officer of Doge. Day-to-day
So this is the
operations.
guy. Is
Fair
this
to
big
say?
balls?
Yeah, part of the Doge team.
So how did you end up here? What's the biggest challenge you see?
The reason I'm here, which is probably for many, is that I think the goal is incredibly inspiring. I think most of the taxpayers in the country would agree that in order to have the country going bankrupt would be a very bad thing, and therefore the country going not bankrupt is a good thing.
Yeah.
That all of us are willing to kind of put our lives on hold in order to do. I think the thing that's special right now is we actually believe there's a chance to succeed.
I feel like, I mean, especially for me, I mean, growing up, like, the government wasting money was like the most common meme in like TV, movies, everything. Like, I don't understand how we can have a culture that's made jokes and just acknowledge that the government wastes money frivolously constantly. And now we're supposed to act like, oh, wait, no, never mind. No, they don't. Yeah, 2 years ago, people were doing that. Yeah, exactly.
There's an administration that's supportive.
It's been known for so long. Yeah, it's
and
obvious.
A great cabinet and just a great group that will actually make success a possible outcome. And I think that's, given the inspiring mission and given the non-zero chance of success, it was worth doing.
Yeah.
I'd just like to sort of re-emphasize that point. The success of Doge is only possible with President Trump and with the outstanding cabinet that he selected. It would be impossible without the support of the president and the cabinet.
But you're finding the money. I mean, it's big numbers, right?
Yeah, like Elon said, the minimum impulse bid is often $1 billion. So, for example, the $830 million, which was the online survey, that's an enormous amount of money. That wouldn't have been found if the Doge team wasn't working with it, in that case, the Department of Interior. But then taking it one step further, Doge then publishes these things on our website for maximum transparency. So now the general...
I think you need to go farther. If there is a group of people that are being paid $880 whatever million for doing an online survey, you need to look at who made that call. You need to look at their relationship with the company that was given that contract, and then you need to like order audits of these people's financial tax returns. That's what needs to happen, because like the moment that you start doing that, I think I know what's going to be on those tax returns. I think I know what it's going to be. I think everybody does. It's not true, though. Well, if it's not true, then the audit wouldn't matter, right? It wouldn't. I mean, logically, right? That would be it. So, yeah, and their families. Exactly, yes. And people that are in their family and around them, too. Yeah, 100%.
General public, it would have been impossible for the general public to have seen that. Now anyone can just log into Doge.gov anytime and see these payments. As they're not yet in real time, they're close, but they'll probably be in real time within the next few weeks.
But the process, it still involves Congress, right? At some level?
They still won't put them in jail. So why does it matter? In my opinion, I think we should put them in jail. Like, this is my opinion, is that if somebody is found to be embezzling money or doing something that's like quid pro quo with the government contracts, I think that they should go directly to jail for like 5 or 10 years. And if they're taking money off the top and there's no justification for it, yeah, because like that's the way that you stop people from doing this. The big problem is that, and you're right, the big problem is that nobody ever faces personal accountability. The moment that personal accountability is applied to individuals is the moment that this immediately goes away. And this is also the reason why it happens, is because, again, these people's actions are obfuscated through like so many different levels of like government apparatus, red tape, that nobody can ever be held accountable or held to a fault for this. And I think that's the problem.
Congress as informed as
possible. Make an
possible,
example out of them.
but,
yes, exactly.
The law does say that money needs to be spent correctly. It should not be spent fraudulently or wastefully. It's not contrary to Congress to avoid waste and fraud. It is consistent with the law and consistent with Congress. And we've seen actually great support, at least from the Republican side of the House, and occasionally some Democrats too. It's nice to see people cross the aisle once in a while. Usually when they attack Doge, they never attack any of the specifics. So they'll say
Yeah.
what we're doing is somehow unconstitutional or illegal or whatever. We're like, well, which line of the cost savings do you disagree with? And they
Yeah.
can't point to any. And we list them all on Doge.gov and the Doge handle on X. And you'll see just outrageous things, one outrageous thing after another.
Joe Gabbia, besides Elon, you're one of several billionaires here, co-founder of Airbnb, and you wanted to help out.
I bumped into Anthony and Elon probably back in February, and they told me something about a mine that was dealt with retirement, and they said they needed somebody to help out to fix retirement in the government. I loved the challenge, so I jumped on board, and it turns out there is actually a mine in Pennsylvania that houses every paper document for the retirement process in the government. Now picture this giant cave. Has 22,000 filing cabinets, stacked 10 high to house 400 million pieces of paper. It's a process that started in the 1950s and largely hasn't changed in the last 70 years. And so as you dug into it, we found retirement cases that had so much paper, they had to fit it on a shipping pallet. So
This is so fucking retarded. Why would they do that? Yes, I don't know. How is this happening? Oh my god.
process takes many months, and
It's
we're gonna
not
make
funny?
it just
No.
many days.
Will it be digitized or how?
Absolutely. So this will be an online digital process that will take just a few days at most. And I really think
Wait, what? So they're just gonna feed it through a machine that just automatically transcribes it digitally. And it'll take a few days and that's it. This is crazy.
It's an injustice to civil
Oh my
servants
god.
who are subjected to these processes that are older than the age of half the people watching your show tonight.
That's
So
like 50.
We really believe that
That's bad.
the government can have an Apple Store-like experience. Beautifully designed, great user experience, modern systems.
Yeah.
Because right now it's.
Well, I mean, we're not even talking about an Apple Store experience. We're talking about not having an underground mine with pallets full of retirement paperwork. Like, we don't need to go to the Apple Store. How about we just go to the year 2005? Like, you don't need, yeah, we don't need to have an Apple Store. Just let's go to 2005. That's all. I think that's reasonable.
Yes, the retirement process is all by paper, literally with people carrying paper in manila envelopes into this gigantic mine.
So they can't retire more than a certain number every month.
Yes.
About 8,000 a month.
That's how we do.
So there's a mine that has all of the retirement paperwork in it, which is a problem logistically because only so many people can get into the mine at a time. And so they can't retire everybody that's working at the government because that many. Remember what I was saying before about how, like, this is a Russian nesting doll of like government apparatuses and red tape? Like, this is what I'm talking about. This is something that only a person at the government can imagine. Like, a normal person could never even think this up. But a government employee, this is second nature. Well, of course.
The reason we discovered it was we were saying, like, well, let's encourage voluntary retirement. They said, well, the most they could do is $8,000 a month, and even under normal circumstances, it can take 6 to 9 months just to have your retirement paperwork processed.
It takes 6 to 9 months to process paperwork. What? In week 46 to 47, what happens? You know, or week 23 to 24, what are you doing in the weeks between 23 and 24 to make this happen? I wonder. This reminds me, one time my dad, we went to KFC. My dad and I went to KFC. The year was about 2006, 2007. And the guy, my dad likes the pot pies from KFC. And the employee there told my dad that it would be an 81-minute wait in order for my dad to get his pot pie. Because it would take 81 minutes for them to get the pot pie ready. That's right. My dad did not like this answer. The next moment, you know, we're talking to the manager. The manager gave my dad 5 or 6 free coupons for KFC after that. And he brought my dad out the pot pie in about 6 minutes. Directly to our table. Interesting. That's right. I remember this very clearly. And so the employee get fired? I don't know. And so I've seen this happen in real life. And so when I hear this, I immediately believe it. And I know some people, oh, you shouldn't believe this. They're lying. I don't think they are. I don't. Everything that I know about dumbasses in positions of authority and administration, guess what's happening right now? You're on speaker.
That wasn't the only time you witnessed that kind of shit. That is why, part of why you're like you are, because I'm such an asshole.
That's right.
And you get so embarrassed, and you still do. You still get so embarrassed when I jump in somebody's shit and I insist that I see the manager, and then if I don't get it from the manager, I say, okay, fuck you. You give me your boss's name, and I'll be talking to him. And when I had my tranny blow, I think it was a transmission, on my 88 T-Bird, you know, with a 5-liter in it.
Yeah.
So about I went out and spent like $800 getting it rebuilt.
Yeah.
And so about a month later, I get a letter from Ford, and it's a grommet, you know, a grommet.
Is this the one where you went all the way up to the vice president of Ford?
Yeah, I was in my office at work, you know.
Yeah.
And a grommet, for you guys, just so you know, some of you don't, it's kind of like a washer. It's a fitting that on tubing or pipes.
Right.
And
yeah.
Because the power, the auto transmission line, the line that has the fluid.
Well, it didn't work, right? It didn't work. That's the point. And so.
Just because it sagged.
Yeah.
It sagged down a little bit. They fucked up, and you know, so I called up Ford, and I said, "What the fuck is this?" I had to already pay, and they said, "If you don't do this, what may happen is," and exactly what happened to my fucking transmission.
Yeah.
So I said, "Well, what the fuck?" You know, and for the first, you know how I am about the first couple of people. I said, listen, I know you're hired to be a flack, you know, and I'm sorry you got a shitty job like this where you got to really take the hits. So, you know, let me help you here by not you know, beating the fuck out of you, but you give me your boss, and I'll beat this guy to him. And so, finally talked to the fucking vice president at Ford, and I said, okay, what the fuck is this? You know, I buy Fords, you know, I'm a Ford guy. And he said, what's your name? And they got my name and address and all. And I got a check in the mail. He said, will you send me the receipt?
Yeah.
I didn't have a receipt because this guy who done it was you know, he doesn't, he has his own garage, fixes up his own cars, and shit. He was kind of informal. So I said, well, we'll just make something out. So it was on like a piece of paper, you know.
Well, this is going off. This is going off the topic because I.
No. It just, I see you go on for much longer than this on just some fucking obscure point on a game, and then add in a couple of anecdotes about it. So you know, just chill your fucking ass for a minute. I'm just finishing up, and so I sent this into them. Hey, they buy it. And one of the reasons I'm talking about this so much is do that. Do that. Say, you know, if you get shit service, somebody fucks up. I think I told the story of the guy that was in front of me at the 15 or less line in the store, and he's got like 25 items, 30 items. He's fucking shopping for for several people, and I got like 6 items. Person behind me has a couple. Person behind, and so I said, when the gal started to check them out, I said, "Wait a minute, hold it." And I looked at the guy and I said, "Did you go to school? What does that sign fucking say?" And he said 15 items. I said, "Does that look like 15 items on you right there in front of you?" "No." "Well, yeah." And I said, "It's not." And I said, "This is less than 15 items." And I said, "You're checking me out first before you check him out," to the gal. I said, "I'm sorry. I know this is embarrassing. It's tough for you to deal with. If you'd like, call your manager over. I'll explain this to him, and I'll find out why the fuck I gotta be in the express lane behind some fucking asshole." And so I got my order. She put my order through right
Yeah.
there. And this other guy, I mean, he's a young guy, he's, kind of well built, but I don't give a shit. I mean, everybody responds the same way to a kick in the balls, a kick in the knee, and a kick in the face. And I wear my boots. So, I don't care.
Yeah.
And and then I turned around to this Mexican lady behind me. I said, "Come on, bring your stuff up here." And she doesn't want to start any shit, or anything.
Okay.
Do it. And I waved through about 6 people. I stood there and waved them all through. And I said, "Okay, you can have your turn now." And then I walked out of the store.
All right.
And,
When was this? This was like last month, right?
yeah, I was going to say, this ain't ancient history. This is about a month ago.
Okay. Well, I gotta get back to the video, right? It is.
Okay. I just wanted to get that in.
All right.
And cook a minute. Cause,
Okay.
it just, got a little boost here.
All right.
Yeah, so it's not, and so.
All right. Sounds good. I'll talk to you later.
All right. I'll see you later.
Yes. Yeah, I'll be coming over later.
All righty.
All right. Yo. Bye.
Talk to you later, yeah.
Yeah. Bye.
I'll probably call in again maybe later.
Okay. Great.
You can look forward to that.
Yeah. Yo. Bye.
Yo, bye-bye.
Okay. All right. Yeah. There it is. And no, he's done that so many times. I'm very conflict adverse. Like, I am like hyper conflict adverse. And so anything like that is like just completely like I just do not deal with it at all. Yeah, it's only me. Anyway, we'll get back to it, okay?
Circumstances, it can take 6 to 9 months just to have your retirement paperwork processed, and they often get the calculations wrong.
Right.
So we're like, well, why would it take so long to retire? And they're like, well, because of the mine. And we're like, what do you mean a mine? What's a mine got to do with retiring? And that's where we discovered the.
See, this is the thing, right? This is always, you know what this is like? This is like video games, where it's like, oh, well, we can't let people, you have to farm out this item in order to get this energy thing, in order to get this other item. Well, have you ever considered that maybe you can just give people the item directly and not have to have this secondary system? And so this is the problem, is that these people are so captured by this like bureaucratic fucking weight. And it's the same thing. Like, think about it in video games. It's in companies. It's in the government. It's everywhere. And so this is what happens with everything. Like loading the stashes. Yes, exactly. Think about it in Diablo 4. This is exactly it. They have to render everybody's inventory. No, you don't. You don't have to do that. So the big problem that a lot of these people have is that the focus they have is on this ridiculous shit. They're not even thinking about it from the right perspective.
All the retirement stuff is still done by paper in a process that looks identical to what occurred in the 1950s.
Yeah, we can't do more retirement processing because there's a mine that we put all the information into, and we can only, like, what do you, like, this is like a gotcha game. Well, we created this problem, and so now it has to be like this.
A snapshot of the mine when it first started in the 50s to today, it looks the same.
It's amazing. So how long do you think it'll take to turn over?
We're working as fast as we can. Probably next couple of months we'll have this overhauled. And, I really think, again, why are we subjecting our federal workers to processes that they actually have to go through a training just to retire from the government? There's a whole training program that people have to go through in order to retire. I think we can do better for them.
This is the work of a council of Karens. And everybody knows it. This is what it is. It's a bunch of people, and their job is to ensure that they continue having their job. That's it. What the fuck are they training for? I don't know. This is it. It's crazy. The government jobs are trained to retire. This is outrageous. What are they training about? I'm so confused. Probably how to figure out all the paperwork. Probably.
Mogadassi, Doge engineer. You go into these places, one of the more than a dozen engineers, first people to go into the agencies and view the computer data sets. Tell me what you're finding, and for people who don't understand how that process works, explain it for them.
Yeah. I'll say the first thing that got me really excited about Doge was learning basically the state of government computers. By some
Don't tell me that it's on XP. Don't tell me it's on Windows XP.
estimates, government IT costs about $100 billion, and it's funding systems that are over 50 years old.
Bro, XP is like, that's new. That's new.
The case of something like Social Security or the IRS. So really critical systems are old. They cost a lot of money to maintain, and they can be, the efforts to improve them are often very delayed. So I thought I'm a software engineer that maybe can make a difference here, and that's really what inspired me at a high level.
So he got inspired because of how stupid it was. I could see that.
About Social Security and a lot of words about it from
because I bet there's a lot of guys that it's like you have the chance to finally fix this massive existential problem. I bet they have so many people that are probably signing up to do this basically for free. They're like, finally, somebody's going to do something about this. And I've got to tell you, I think that's pretty fucking patriotic. It is.
Democrats have been saying about it.
It's absurd that Elon Musk is trying to eliminate billions of dollars from Social Security.
Elon Musk and President Trump have set their sights on cutting Social Security.
Their goal is clear: destroy Social Security from within.
You're in the building. I mean, you're in the computers. What's happening there? What are you doing?
Yeah, it doesn't line up with my experience on the ground, and
it's bullshit. The reason why they're saying that, it's the same as, like, do you remember when Trump said he's going to cut the Department of Education funding, but they're not going to cut support for people with special needs? And then all of the people on Twitter and, like, other places were saying, I can't believe Trump wants the special needs students to die. It's like, you didn't even listen. You didn't even pay attention. They don't think, yeah, they're just lying, bro.
I'll say the two improvements that we're trying to make to Social Security are helping people that legitimately get benefits, protect them from fraud.
They're still saying that? Yeah.
That they experience every day.
It's all hyperbole and lies. Exactly. And once you understand that their entire messaging, like their entire messaging system is just like, let's exaggerate and misrepresent something in an intellectually dishonest way and hope the stupid people that watch us believe it. That's the entire strategy. That's it. That's what they do.
Basis, and also make the experience better. And I'll give you one example. Is at Social Security, one of the first things we learned is that they get phone calls every day of people trying to change direct deposit information. Yeah. So when you want to change your bank account, you can.
Let me guess. Now there's going to be an online system that you can do it instead, and that way you don't have to call them.
Social Security. We learned 40% of the phone calls that they get are from fraudsters.
40%?
That's right. Almost half.
Yes, and they steal people's Social Security is what happens. Is they call in, they say, they claim to be a retiree, then they convince the Social Security person on the phone to change
social engineering
where money's flowing. It actually goes to some fraudster. This is happening all day, every day, and then.
Oh, do not redeem.
And then somebody doesn't receive their Social Security. It's because of all the fraud loopholes in the Social Security system.
How do you reassure people that what you all are doing is not going to affect their benefits?
No, in fact, what we're doing will help their benefits. Legitimate people, as a result of the work of Doge, will receive more Social Security, not less. I want to emphasize that. As a result of the work of Doge, legitimate recipients of Social Security will receive more money, not less money.
All right.
So what he's saying is that Doge is going to cut Social Security for old people and it's going to let them die. That's pretty fucked up. Wow. Can you believe that? Jesus. That's horrible.
And let the record show that I said this, and it will be proven out to be true. Let's check back on this in the future.
So, Washington Post, the Social Security Administration website crashed 4 times in 10 days this month because the servers were overloaded, blocking millions of retirees and disabled veterans from logging into their online accounts.
Democracy dies in darkness. Man.
Freaked people out.
We got to get these theater kids off the fucking internet, man. We have to take, like, if you're a theater kid, you have to work at the like a salt mine or something like that for like 3 years. You know, you got to work in a coal mine for a while.
Is that going to change?
Yes, we're going to make sure that the website stays online.
Yeah. I mean, but is it a result of going in there or something you're doing?
No. The amount of issues that were with the Social Security system are enormous. As an example, there are over 15 million people that are over the age of 120 that are marked as alive in the Social Security system.
And that's an accurate figure.
Yes.
Correct.
15 million.
Correct. This has been something that's been identified as a problem. Again, pre-existing problems since 2008 at least.
Oh, God. Wow. Who made this problem? I wonder.
From an IG report. So there were some great people working at the Social Security Administration that found this, 2008, and nothing was done. And so 15 to 20
so they tried to fix it, but they...
million Social Security numbers that were clearly fraudulent were floating around that can be used only for bad intentions. There'd be no way to use those for good intentions. And so one of the things the Doge team is doing is carefully and very methodically.
And also, by the way, if 40% of their calls are fraud calls, 40% of the calls wouldn't be fraud calls if these people weren't getting paid out. Just think about this for a few seconds here, right? Like, if you've got all of these people spamming this, there's a reason for it. That makes sense. Yeah, of course.
Looking at those and making sure that any fraudulent ones are eliminated.
Brad Smith, working at HHS, and obviously another element is Medicare and Medicaid. NIH.
Oh, they're going to cut that.
What do you find?
And they're going to kill all the old people.
Well, I'd say there's a couple of things we're really committed to in our work at HHS.
Yeah.
Number one, making sure we continue to have the best biomedical research in the world. And number two, making sure, which President Trump has said over and over again, that we 100% protect Medicare and Medicaid.
So they're going to cut Medicare and Medicaid. They're going to get rid of it. That way old people die.
A lot of opportunity. So if I take NIH
and poor
as an
people
example,
die.
Today, if you're an NIH researcher and you get a $100 grant at your university, today you get to spend 60 of that, and your university spends 40 of that.
What?
NIH is an example. Today, if you're an NIH researcher and you get a $100 grant at your university, today you get to spend 60 of that, and your university spends 40 of that. The policy that we're proposing to make is that you get to spend 85 of that, and your university spends 15. So that's more money going directly to the scientists who are discovering new cures.
Seems good. Yeah.
Another example at NIH is today they have 27 different centers. They got created over time by Congress, and they're typically by disease state or body system. There's 700 different IT systems today at NIH.
What?
700 different IT systems.
IT software systems. They can't speak to each other.
And so they don't talk to one another.
They have 27 different CIOs. And so when you think about
These people are making the Bible real. They're rebuilding the Tower of Babel. Mac versus PC times 27. Well, this is why, guys, this is why we have the mine. Is because all the paperwork is in the mine and we can go there for sure. Do you see kind of how these problems, like, it's basically like you have a house of cards and they hold each other up, but none of these cards should fucking be there in the first place. Not being sarcastic, this makes sense? Oh, I'm sure.
Making great medical discoveries, you have to connect the data.
Time out. You said 27 different chief information officers?
Correct.
And most of them are non-technical.
So there's a lot there.
There's a lot of opportunity. It will make science better, not worse.
Oh my God.
When I say that our job is tech support, I really mean it.
Yeah.
We have to fix the computers. If the computers
the problem is that nobody at the government knew how computers worked. I knew it.
Talk to each other. You can't get research done. If the computers can't stay online, people won't receive their Social Security.
Yeah.
So what we have here are a bunch of failing computer systems that are preventing people from receiving their benefits, that are preventing people from preventing research from happening, that are extremely vulnerable to fraud, and we're fixing it.
And does that include AI? Does that include kind of changing the system overall? That's, I guess, what people are afraid of, is they don't know.
They're afraid of AI because there's some fucking retard that told them that AI is scary. Oh my God, they're going to have AI, and then the AI machine is going to say, it's going to be like Terminator, and it says, you know, please report to the local hospital to be exterminated at, you know, 0600 tomorrow morning. Like, what is that? How does anybody buy this? There are dozens of movies. It's a reasonable fear. Yeah. Here we go. This is good. My first job was at the DMV as a software engineer. My boss, who is a development team lead, never wrote a line of code in his life. He had an MBA in information systems and about as much technical knowledge as my 8-year-old son. Yep.
What this is all looking like, and is it going to affect me in the long run?
It's going to affect them. It's going to affect people very positively. So the changes that we're doing here will ensure the solvency of the American government, of the United States of America. This is what we're trying to do: is ensure that people do receive their benefits in the future, and you can only receive your benefits if the country is operating in a healthy and competent way.
Up next, how the DOGE team plans to streamline some federal jobs and agencies. And later, Elon Musk answers some of your questions that you asked.
Oh boy, the Q&A.
Anthony Armstrong, DOGE, Office of Personnel Management, you're Morgan Stanley banker, M&A guy.
Yeah.
You know money, and this is a lot of money sloshing around.
There's a lot of money sloshing around. There's a lot of money sloshing out the door. And if you look at the federal government and the way the workforce works, it's really a one-way ratchet over decades.
So it's only going up.
It's only going up. You never take it away. So that leaves you with duplicative functions. It leaves you with overstaffing, and it leaves you with...
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, people says MBAs don't teach you IT. Whenever I was in college for business, like, we had to learn process analysis, like systems, and it would reverse engineer code that you would have to use in order to optimize systems. But like that was in like 2014 or 2014. So like now they have that a little bit, but I don't know if they had that back then.
Functions in the wrong places. So a couple of
It's
examples.
outdated, yeah.
Duplicative functions. Brad mentioned
Now they have
27
DEI.
CIOs. If
Yeah.
you kept going with Brad, he would talk about the communications office. I think you've got 40 distinct communications offices in HHS, right? Yeah.
40?
Yeah, and that's not unusual.
Wait, what?
He would talk about the communications office. I think you've got 40 distinct communications offices. So
there's 40 communications offices? Huh. I'm sure we need all of those.
HHS, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's
Right.
not unusual, by the way. Multiple offices like that.
It's not making anyone healthy.
This is not about the employees. There's many hardworking, well-meaning people who took these jobs. These jobs were out there. They applied for them. They took them. They're doing what's there. It's just that they're duplicating the effort of 40 offices. So you've got that. You've got overstaffing. A good example of overstaffing would be the IRS has got 1,400 people who are dedicated.
I'll tell you right now. Like, we got paid to do fucking nothing half the time. They would even say, you're getting paid to do nothing. Just sit there. I'm like, but I don't have to leave till 3 more hours. They said, okay. What do you want to watch? You want to watch Lord of the Rings? Go to the break room. Just watch TV. Okay. Great. Yeah. Easy money.
To provisioning laptops and cell phones. So if you join the IRS, you get a laptop and a cell phone, you're provisioned. So if each of those IRS officers or employees provisioned 2 employees per day, you could provision the entire IRS in a little more than a month. So 12 times a year, you can re-provision.
Why would you have 1,400 people whose only job it is to give out a laptop and a phone?
Right. The whole IRS could be handled.
Wait. What?
Laptop and a cell phone, you're provisioned. So IRS has got 1,400 people who are dedicated to provisioning laptops and cell phones. So
there's 1,400 people. I thought it said 1,400 people that were getting them. There's 1,400 people. It's their job to manage laptops and cell phones. Just to give them to people?
You join the IRS, you get a laptop and a cell phone, you're provisioned. So if each of those IRS officers or employees provisioned 2 employees per day, you could provision the entire IRS in a little more than a month. So 12 times a year, you can re-provision.
Why would you have 1,400 people whose only job it is to give out a laptop and a phone?
Right. The whole IRS could be handled once a month. So that doesn't make any sense. And President Trump's been very clear: it's scalpel, not hatchet, and that's the way it's getting done. And then once those decisions are made, there's a very heavy focus on being generous, being caring, being compassionate, and treating everyone with dignity and respect. And if you look at how people have started to leave the government, it is largely through voluntary means. There's voluntary early retirement, there's voluntary separation payments. We put in place deferred resignation, the 8-month severance program. So there's a very heavy bias towards programs that are long dated, that are generous, that allow people to exit and go and get a new job in the private sector.
Yeah.
And you've heard a lot of news about rifts, about people getting fired. At this moment in time, less than 0.15, not 1.5, less than 0.15 of the federal workforce has actually been given a RIF notice.
So they're selected.
So that's like, that's like 1 in like every 750 people or something like that.
If they're
less.
It is
basically almost no one's gotten fired.
850.
Tom Krause, working at Treasury.
That's a lot.
You are having access to the payment system, oversees all the outgoing payments. Essentially, those payments were going places we didn't know where they were going, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case, Brett. As an ex-CFO of a big public tech company, really what we're doing is we're applying public company standards to the federal government. And it is alarming how the financial operations and financial management is set up today. There is actually really only one bank account that's used to disperse all monies that go out of the federal government.
Time out. One bank account.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one. A couple weeks ago, it had $800 billion in it, but it's the Treasury General account. So when you
What?
$800 billion in it, but it's the treasury.
So there's just an account that has $800 billion in it? Oh my God. I'd
The Treasury General account. So when you hear, some of my colleagues here, what they're talking about in terms of the fraud, you have to ask, well, why is this allowed to happen at a financial level? Well, it's actually quite simple but alarming. The Treasury, up until now, and thanks to President Trump, we're fixing this. In fact, there's an executive order that he just signed the other day, which is protecting America's bank account, because it really is the taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
When we're changing the culture is been
being fat, eating Cheetos, not working, and complaining. Yeah, yep, that's about right. You got to change that.
Not a lot of caring and not a lot of commitment to doing what's right.
That's what I
relative
said.
to financial operations.
Yep.
There's $500 billion of fraud every year. There's hundreds of billion dollars of improper payments, and we can't pass an audit. The consolidated financial report is produced by Treasury, and we cannot pass it on. We have material weaknesses. What that means is that if I was a public company,
They can't figure out where the money. How is this possible? There's a lot of ways. Think of it as the convergence of the worst part of like 5 different things put together.
I would effectively be removed. I couldn't file financial statements. I couldn't issue securities, which of course we depend on. Can't pass an audit.
Right. The federal government cannot pass an audit. It's impossible. In fact, in order to pass an audit, you need the information necessary to pass an audit. You need to have the payment codes. You need to have the.
And this is the thing: is you don't have any of the information because some of it's in a mine, the other one is on a Mac, the other one's on a PC. There's 4 other languages. Probably some of it's on COBOL, and then you have to put all of it together. And then there's this one account where there's a lot of money. Yeah, it's on Windows ME, and this one's running on Linux, and so. This is the thing: is that people like this. You know this. How many of you guys have ever had have been part of an organization that has a accountability abstraction mechanism that makes it to where nobody can ever really truly be at fault? So there's never a point where a person makes a mistake. There's just a collective error that never really gets addressed, right? Yeah, we've all seen this happen, right? Yeah, sadly, I've never been in one. Good. And boomers don't understand the words you just mentioned. Well, they do in practice. It's nuts, man. It runs on Opinium too. Yeah, diffusing responsibility. Exactly. People are terrified of personal accountability. And so they create these systems to protect themselves.
Explanation, and you need to have a person you can contact to understand why that payment was made. None of those things were mandatory. Until just recently, just a few weeks ago.
So you didn't even have to explain.
Yeah, we're serving 580 plus agencies. And up until very recently, effectively they could say make the payment and Treasury just sent it out as fast as possible. No verification. And so what we're doing is what any household would do. But imagine you're a household, you have a bank account, everyone has an ATM card connected to that account, everyone has a checkbook connected to that account. It's not just your children, it's not just your parents, it's your in-laws, it's your extended family, and they all can go to the account and disperse funds. No questions asked, no justification, no verification.
Up next, the Doge team targets government contracts, and we'll show you what they're finding.
Man.
Tyler Hassan, Interior Department.
Why didn't they send me $1 million? Because you're not related to somebody that works at the federal government, apparently, right? I don't know. This is insane. I can't believe this is all happening right now in our lifetime. I can. Anybody who's ever worked at a big company or at the government knows that this is, if you have, it's probably worse than what they're saying. That's the truth. It's probably even worse than what's being said here.
You're a former oil company CEO. You're reviewing contracts before they're approved for funding. What are you finding?
Well, Elon and Steve kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but I actually found that customer service survey contract. I actually have an example of one right here. I could have done this in high school. And
so this right here, this gentleman, this right here was $880 million. Is that right? $800 million? Damn, that's crazy. Wow.
Is that right? I found it.
Is that bad?
I found it on the weekends because under the Biden administration,
800 billion? No, it was almost 1 billion. It was 800 million.
No departmental oversight within the Department of Interior
you can go back
whatsoever.
And watch it.
None. We are now reviewing every single contract, every single grant, and when things come to my attention that don't make sense, I'm bringing them to Secretary Burgum, and he's been fantastic. He's a businessman. He's very supportive of Doge. It's been wonderful to work with him.
Is the battle between government of decades and decades of buildup and business, which you guys are,
is the roaches? That's the problem. Is you got all these roaches that are entrenched in this shit. And they don't want to get exposed. They don't want you to pick up the rock that they've been living under for 30 years. And so they put like 5 other rocks on top of their rock, and they hope that you can't get through all the other rocks to get to their rock. But then whenever you finally get to their rock, they're fucking pissed.
Is that like a train hitting each other? I mean, it seems like it's pretty disruptive.
Well, this is a revolution. And I think it might be the biggest revolution in government since the original revolution. But at the end of the day, America is going to be in much better shape. America will be solvent.
Get the roaches out.
The critical programs that people depend upon will work, and it's going to be a fantastic future. But are we going to get a lot of complaints along the way? Absolutely. You know, one of the things I learned at PayPal was you know who complains the loudest and with the most amount of fake righteous indignation?
People that are scamming and trying to get you to give them money.
The fraudsters.
Yep. Yep. That's right. No, because you know how, like, the thing is that roaches, whether you've got a roach at PayPal, you've got a roach in a WoW guild, you've got a roach at the government, or you got a roach at a company, a roach is a roach. They're all the same.
It's a tell. There's some of these NGOs that are crazy, like the $2 billion to Stacey Abrams' NGO that basically didn't exist, and suddenly gets $2 billion awarded from the federal government. She has why? And there are many such cases like that.
I think that most people, common sense-wise, would say the fraud's got to end.
Yeah.
They're concerned about the 94-year-old mother who skips a check or somehow doesn't get what she's supposed to get.
Right. And what we're trying to say is actually that the 94-year-old grandmother is actually, as a result of Doge's work, going to get her check.
Yeah,
She's
because
not.
before she was getting finessed by some guy, you know, living in, I don't know, India, Nigeria, or maybe just Indiana. Do not redeem. Okay, so yes, this is me. My name is Bill Government. I'm John Government. Okay, so what is the amount of money? Okay, so you're going to deposit into this account. So this is how you buy cryptocurrency, and then you have to send it over to this wallet. Okay, no. You have to capitalize that letter. Okay, no, you hold down the shift button and then just put caps lock and then hit E and then put okay, there you go. All right, now put a J. Yeah, do not redeem.
Going to be robbed by fraudsters like she's getting robbed today. And the solvency of the federal government will ensure that she continues to receive those Social Security checks, that Medicare continues to work, without which we're all doomed. The reason we're doing this is because if we don't do it, America's going to go insolvent. We're going to go bankrupt. And nobody's going to get anything.
Why are you guys all doing it? I mean, you can pipe up, but you don't have to be here, right? I mean, you don't have to be doing this.
I'll tell you the reason why. It's because most people, if they're given the opportunity, will do something, and it's not most people, but a lot of guys that are really hard workers have some sort of drive to do it, and a lot of them care about doing something that matters, right? And to an extent, this is an ego thing, right? Where it's like, okay, you're going to put me in charge. I'm going to fix this shit. And it's been something that I've been growing up my whole life hearing about. I finally have the chance to fix it. I'm going to do it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to fuck it. Yeah, fuck it. Best way to not get taxed? Yeah, somebody's got to do it.
Blessed with four
I would,
beautiful
yeah.
children, my wife and I. But we have a real fiscal crisis, and this is not sustainable.
And it's the same thing with the military, right? I mean, if you've got people in there like that are trying to talk about like being a girl on the front lines of the military, this really isn't going to attract a lot of young men that are like, young men are the ones that go out and get killed. That's what happens. It's not older, middle-aged women. It's young guys. And so when you have the guy that's running the military that has tattoos of the Crusades on him, and the commercial is a big guy lifting a lot of weights, and it says strong people are harder to kill. This resonates really strong with like 19-year-old guys. That's it. And so it's the same thing with this in a different way. If you want to bring in people that are, successful, you have to reward success and give those people a degree of, I guess like power, you could say. And it's also just to give them credibility. You give them the ability to make change. So that's really it. Autonomy, exactly. And that's what really matters the most. Give them credit, yes.
What's worse, back to my children and everyone else's children, is we are burdening them with that debt. And it's only going to grow.
Steve, there's not a lot of hierarchy here. You guys are kind of all approaching it in different, silos, but with the same kind of goal, right? I mean, this is really Silicon Valley private sector colliding with government.
Yeah, exactly. And we're headed in a bad path, but the chance of success exists. And just the one that just is in my head right now, which is a fairly mundane one, but I think is very illustrative, is credit cards.
Those are bad.
In the federal government, around 4.6
No, I don't want to. Okay, here we go.
million credit cards for around 2.3 to 2.4 million employees.
What?
There are in the federal government around 4.6 million credit cards for around 2.3 to 2.4 million employees. This doesn't make sense.
Right.
And so one of the things all of the teams have worked on is we've worked with the agencies and said, do you need all of these credit cards? Are they being used? Can you tell us physically where they are?
I hope they're getting frequent flyers.
Actually, on a different note, the rewards program the federal government has is actually not very good. That's a whole other...
It's a negotiation.
Right, yeah, exactly. But so far, the teams have worked together, and they've reduced it from 4.6 million to 4.3 million. So we're taking it
easy.
Yeah.
But clearly there should not be, more. There should not be more credit cards than there are people. Yeah.
Joe, middle-level employees, are they seeing a benefit to being empowered by taking out bureaucracy? I mean,
absolutely. I mean, I think what you're seeing is taking the best of Silicon Valley in the business world and bringing it into the government. We're bringing the best practices and the best methodologies, and people are inspired. Right, especially.
This is one thing a lot of people have been complaining about, where they say, oh, well, the government isn't a company. It's not a private company. It shouldn't be run like a private company. Why not? Why not? Why not? Why is it a bad thing that these guys that want to save money, why is this an issue? It's a business. Well, it's not about whether it's a business or not. It's about optimizing the money. That's what it's about. Like, there's an amount of money that you're spending and an amount of money that you're getting. And the fact is that it sure seems like they're wasting a lot of fucking money.
On the retirement process, which I can speak to, they've been trying to modernize and get off of paper since early 2000s. Very unsuccessfully. Every attempt has gone over budget and been canceled because it hasn't been successful. And so, you know, I showed up and I feel like I'm here because it's an interesting problem. We can use design to solve it and good engineering and really create a better experience for everybody.
We're talking about elementary financial controls that are necessary for any company to function.
Yeah.
So, like, if the federal government, if a commercial company operated the way the federal government does, then it would be immediately go bankrupt. It would be delisted. The officers would be arrested. The changes we're putting in place will enable the federal government to pass an audit. It will enable taxpayers to know where the money is going.
Sorry, the government's not supposed to be provided like a company. I think it should be closer to a company. Why not? Why not? Why is it bad that if this was so basically what you're saying is that if the people that were in charge of this could be held accountable, they would go to jail. And so this is somehow okay? Why is it okay? I don't understand this at all. It's crazy. Yeah, pass the back, dude. They're running things like 30 years ago. I know. This is unbelievable, man.
Know that their hard-earned tax dollars are being spent well.
Yeah.
The ways that the government is defrauded is that the computer systems don't talk to each other. So if the computer systems don't talk to each other, then you can exploit that gap, and fraudsters exploit that gap to take advantage. For example, there were over $300 million of Small Business Administration loans that has been given out to people under the age of 11.
We need to have audits of the families that receive these loans. You need to have the audits. You got to figure out where this money went. That's what's got to happen. Who are they? Yeah, see, this is the issue, is that, like, I agree with all this stuff, but you need to actually get the people that are doing it. You do, companies trying to get profit, government should not? Well, the government isn't about getting... Why should the government not try to get a profit? Wait, why not? Why do we just decide that the government shouldn't try to improve its profit? Who decided that? Really? Like, what a dumb frame of reference. We've decided this. This is insane. Retarded tech? No, it's not. It's not at all. Didn't Clinton have a budget surplus? I think Clinton had a surplus, right? Yeah. So we had this. So was that bad? Like, what?
Well, actually, to add to it, it's 300 million under the age of 11 and over 300 million to over the age of 120.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Small business loans.
Correct.
Yes. The oldest American is 114. So it's safe to say if their age is 115 or above, they're
dead.
Or they should be in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Yeah.
And we should not be giving out loans to babies. So the youngest recipient of a Small Business Administration loan is a 9-month-old, which is a very cautious baby we're talking about here.
How much?
So obviously it was just fraudulent.
Yeah.
And they do terrible things. They actually will see that a kid's been born. They will steal that kid's social security number and then take out a loan and leave that kid with a bad credit rating.
So this kid gets spawned in with bad RNG? That's awful.
The terrible things are being done.
They're spawn camping.
And how
we're stopping these terrible things.
This is outrageous.
I mean,
we are stopping it.
The reason this is happening is because the two systems are not talking to each other.
Yes.
Right. And so you don't know at the Small Business Administration that you're giving a loan to a 9-month-old, which happened in one case, because you're not cross-referencing that with the Social Security Administration data that has birth dates. So that very, very simple fix eliminates tremendous fraud.
Okay, so now you see how it comes together. So because the systems can't communicate with each other, they can never cross-reference the data to check to see if it's authentic or not. And okay. Right. Oh my, lol, what the fuck? That's not a real problem? You really think this is not a real problem? Guys, I think it's worse than what they're explaining. I do. I think it's worse than what they're explaining. Absolutely. Shame that guy. Yeah, who said that?
And that there are multiple systems across the government where the systems are not.
And keep in mind, they haven't even talked about the military yet. They haven't even gotten there. You think this is bad? This is like, bro, this is like their farming experience for the boss fight. The boss fight's going to be the fucking military budget.
With one another, and if you just solve that simple problem, you would solve a huge amount of fraud.
Are you surprised?
So one of the ways that, like one of the key tricks that the fraudsters pull is that they will use the fact that someone is marked as live, and as sort of just that Social Security number is marked as live in Social Security, and then get disability and unemployment insurance for a dead person. Because the databases don't talk to each other, all they got was from Social Security.
And it's because it's the stupid fucking employees that do it. Because the employees don't care. Because everything in the federal government, so like, we all probably have this, like we've all had one of these, right? Where it's like you have a performance graph where it's like a 1 through 10, 1 through 5 system. Government's 1 through 5. 3 is good, 2 is bad, 4 is great, 5 is amazing, 1 is what the fuck, right? It's pretty simple. Yeah, you have your KPIs, key performance indicators. These people, and this is what happened at the IRS. They get paid for how many documents they process. So they're not trying to get it right. They're trying to meet the KPIs.
Is this person alive? Yes, they're not alive.
They're min-maxing, yes.
Person is falsely marked as alive in Social Security, but they didn't. But that person, a fraudster can now get unemployment and disability from a dead person. This is happening all the time at scale.
Are you surprised at some of the legal efforts and some of the judges that have weighed in? There's about 8 or 10 now. Of these cases that are at least temporary holds. They're being challenged by the DOJ.
Right.
Are you surprised by that pushback?
Well, it's the D.C. Circuit is notorious for having a very far left bias.
I also think that it's very simple. They've created all of these laws and these protection apparatuses in order to ensure that the Roach Cave never gets turned over and exposed. So I think that you have all of these rules and all of these systems that are designed, they're supposed to compound on each other, and there's all of this bureaucratic red tape, and this is working as intended. This is it, Democrat Roach Cave. It's not the Democrat Roach Cave. This is the unironic swamp. Whenever Trump said drain the swamp, this is the swamp. Right here. That's it. And it's by design, exactly. Yes, they made it there on purpose. You still have to change the rules first? I agree. I think that they should.
And when you look at the people close to some of these judges, where are they working? Oh, they're working at these NGOs. Oh, they're the ones getting this money. Does that seem like a system that lacks corruption? It sounds like corruption to me.
Why are we not getting the audits? Like, look at their last 10 or 5 years of financial reports. Look at their 1040s. Look at their 1099s. Look at their, fucking, what do you call it? Their pay stubs, their revenue. Where is this money going? How are they investing it? You can't? Why not? It's easy. Yeah, it's easy. You figure out who's involved, you pull it up, you just go through. It's like basically you could run this through an algorithm where it's like this person's getting paid this much for their salary, and if they're reporting an income that is too much of a variance away from that base number, it flags the account and then somebody looks at it. I feel like this is common fucking sense. There's no paper trails for some? Well, then you figure it out. Fraud GPT, yes, it's so easy.
Do you guys all see this as a patriotic duty? Is that really what this is about?
It's essential.
I do, 100%. was running 5 businesses in Houston, and I left that. I left great people to do this, and my wonderful wife said, "Go for it," and here I am. But I feel like this is me giving back to the country.
If we don't do this, we're sunk.
You got to get the roaches out, man.
Unless this exercise is successful, the ship of America will sink. That's why we're doing it.
Well,
too many roaches in the ship.
I really appreciate the time.
Way too
today.
many roaches.
And hopefully it took some of the myth and mystery out of Doge and what's happening behind the scenes.
Thank you.
What's hilarious is that if you get audited, the IRS will find every fucking cent that you owe, but we're talking about billions of dollars here that can't be traced. And you're also talking about people like, these aren't people that are like washing their money through 17 different Solana, Monero fucking crypto accounts, right? They're not doing this through like a Cayman Islands gambling profit fucking scheme that's then being reported in a different country. Like, they're not doing this. They're just probably, like, most of the people that are doing this just fucking retards. And I guarantee you, if you just look into it, it'll be obvious. Some of them will be smart, but most of them won't.
We asked on X, your platform, for some, for some questions. And here is C. Sperling. He writes, are they happy with the speed at which they're making changes? Are there any changes they would like to make but haven't yet?
Well,
go faster.
I think in the context of the government, we're moving like lightning. In the context of what I'm used to moving, it's slower than I'd like. What seems like incredibly fast action,
I want to see the arrest. Yeah, that's the thing. Is to me, like, none of this matters unless you crucify the people that have been doing it. Like, because unless we find the people that have been committing the fraud, and there are some cases where the fraud is not actual fraud, it's just them not giving a fuck so much that it's basically fraud. You need to have individual personal accountability for those people.
It's slower than I'd like to be totally frank. But we're all making solid progress. A very sort of thorny problem, a tough problem, really it's kind of like painful homework, frankly, is reconciling all of the government databases to eliminate the waste and fraud.
Yeah.
These databases don't talk to each other, and that's really the source of that's the biggest vulnerability for fraud, is the fact that these databases don't talk to each other. So we need to reconcile the databases. It's a frankly painful homework, but it has to be done.
Criminal negligence? Yeah, exactly.
Greatly improve the efficiency of the government systems.
We didn't talk about any plans to approach cuts at the Pentagon. You're in there.
Yeah, the Pentagon has not passed an audit in a very long time. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, they will lose $20, $30 billion a year, and they don't know where. They literally don't know where it went.
Does anybody really believe that they don't know where it went? Do we really think that they don't know where it went? Oh, oops. What happened? I bet people know where it went. What a bunch of... This is crazy. I'll be right back. Yeah, it's always funny for me to see the people that try to defend this stuff, too. It's like, I bet this is worse than they're even explaining. I do. I think 15% is a low number. Also, examples of other countries, all their government systems must be connected. Yeah. You can't keep assets secret if they're on the books. Yeah, and that's why they're probably not. But there's always ways to figure this stuff out.
I mean, Senator Collins was telling me about how she gave the Navy $12 billion for extra submarines. Got 0 extra submarines.
I heard that we actually did get 2 submarines. I heard this was not true, that there were 2 submarines. Don't understand what political stance would make you think cleaning up the finances of the U.S. is a bad thing. It's simple. It's just directly oppositional to whatever is in power because it's bad. That's it. There's no thinking beyond that.
And then when she held a hearing, said, where'd the $12 billion go? They didn't know.
Talking to those guys, and you have a great team from all over the country.
Where are they? I don't know.
You don't have to be here. You don't have to be here. You know, there's now been these many cases of violence and vandalism at Tesla dealerships. How does that affect your employees, your customers? What does it mean to you?
It's annoying.
Like, how have you taken that in?
Well, I think a great wrong is being done.
Yeah. This is the way that Democrats and liberals and leftists are protesting Tesla and fighting against who they believe is a Nazi is by carving swastikas and destroying people's cars. And setting them on fire. Yeah, I don't know why this would happen, but for some reason it does. Makes sense? Yeah, it sure does, right?
The people of Tesla and to our customers. I mean, Tesla is a peaceful company.
They're freedom
that has made,
fighters.
Great cars, great products. That's all it's done. Hasn't harmed anyone. And yet people are committing violence. They're firebombing Tesla dealerships. They're shooting guns into stores.
This is crazy. Like, who's doing this? Like, it really, I mean, and you see the people that are doing this. These are just idiots that have been whipped up into a frenzy by the internet. That's what's going on, man. What's this going to look like 10 to 20 years from now? Dude, in 2 years, this is going to look like the biggest joke that you've ever seen. This is going to look like a massive... This will not, like, you know how, like, nowadays people look back at the BLM riots and they're like, wow, that was really stupid. That was dumb. This is how everybody's going to look at the Tesla stuff, but even more so.
They're threatening people. They're issuing death threats against me and other Tesla personnel. What are they doing this for? Why? And what's happening, it seems to me, is they're being fed propaganda by the far left.
Yes.
And they believe it.
That's literally what it is. Yeah, he's right. Yep.
It's really unfortunate. But the real problem is not the people. It's not like the crazy guy that firebombs a Tesla dealership. It's the people pushing the propaganda that caused that guy to do it.
Yeah.
Those are the real villains here, and we're going to go after them. And the president's made it clear we're going to go after them. The ones providing the money, the ones pushing the lies and propaganda, we're going after them.
I want to see it. I do. I want to see it. This is what needs to happen. But Elon's acting on propaganda himself, so it's gross for him to say this? Well, not really. I mean, like, if you have somebody that's putting out information that, basically, like, they make a website and the website's cursor is a Molotov cocktail